Let's take a look first. I want to finish up Bereishis today. Tomorrow we got to start on Noach. Okay, so in Perek Aleph Pasuk Chav Ches, Aleph Chav Ches. So here it talks about the creation of man, and it says 3 lines from the top, page 8, 3 lines from the top. Different opinions about they're created in one body and then they were separated, and then that's why you when you find your soulmate, when you get married, there's a sense of having known each other before. I told you it could have been. It's possible for people. Is this a new machine?
No, it's just that the tripod is missing.
I tried zooming on Friday and I couldn't zoom on Friday because I couldn't get. Remember you were there. I couldn't get on. Missed the motor. Somebody's been messing around with stuff in that room over there. Yeah. So I have to get that. Get that taken care of. So it could be a couple. A couple was married in a previous lifetime. Remember I spoke about that. There are people that are Gilgulim. There are people. A couple was married previously. Whatever the case is. It then says, "Vayivarech Hashem Elokim vayomer lehem Elokim pru urvu umilu es haaretz v'chivshuha urdu bid gas hayam uvofa shemayim v'chol hachaya harameses al haaretz." So here you have the first command in the Torah, which is pru urvu, and the Rambam says this is the source for the mitzvah of pru urvu. It's the first mitzvah in the Torah, and in the book of Bereishis there are only 3 mitzvahs. By the way, in the entire book of Bereishis there are only 3 mitzvahs. There's the mitzvah of pru urvu, there's the mitzvah of bris milah. And what's the third one?
From the
Gita Nasha, right? The sciatic nerve. Those are the only 3 mitzvahs in the entire book of Bereishis. When you look at the 630, the way they're enumerated in the what do you call it? In the Sefer Achinuch, these are listed as the 3. These are the 3 mitzvahs in Sefer Bereishis. Okay, but I mean we learned from the entire Bereishis. So here is the mitzvah of pru urvu. Now you take a look at Rashi, and Rashi says why does it say pru urvu? So Rashi says. It's the left column. Where's Rashi? Oh no, Rashi had said it earlier. Pru means have one. Urvu, he may have more. Don't stop when you have one. So from a halachic point of view, when it comes to reproduction, from a halachic point of view, a couple is not allowed to practice birth control from a halachic point of view unless they have a qualified halachic authority who has given them a heter to use birth control, and that would require one of several things: either a health threat to the woman, let's say a woman who can't get pregnant. I knew a woman who wasn't allowed to get pregnant because she had a heart condition, and she ended up somehow getting pregnant anyway, to having a baby, and Baruch Hashem, she managed to survive it. But from a halachic point, she was told by the doctor she cannot get pregnant because she had a danger, mamish sakana, mamish a life threat to her. And she managed, Baruch Hashem, she made it through. It could be a mental state for a woman. Sometimes a woman is especially women who are suffering from postpartum depression, which is a very, very common thing, and it can be taken care of very easily. Women who give birth, their bodies are thrown into turmoil, and their mental state sometimes suffers. And there are women who could have such bad postpartum they could get to the point where they're suicidal. So most of the time it's not. Most of the time they're just low and depressed, and the husband thinks it's him. And the husband just tells her, "Come on, it's okay." Tries to encourage her, but it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It's a serious condition. It requires intervention and it requires medication, and it can be taken care of very easily. But sometimes a woman under those circumstances is not allowed to get pregnant for a while, and therefore, but it requires a halachic authority who allows it. But that's the first mitzvah in the Torah is pru urvu. Why is it the first mitzvah in the Torah? That should be the answer. That should be pretty obvious. Why is pru urvu the first mitzvah in the Torah? Be fruitful and multiply. Why is that the first mitzvah in the Torah?
Everybody can do it.
Everybody can do it? Okay, everybody can put on, tefillin also. All you got to do is buy it.
Because of its importance.
Why is it important?
You have to populate the world.
Why do you have to populate the world?
To make it kodesh.
To make it holy. Boy, you guys are so spiritual. There's a much more basic There's much more basic idea. Yeah, without people, then nobody's going to do any mitzvahs. If people, all studies have shown if there are no people, no one puts on tefillin. That's a reality. Do me a favor, leave that door open over there. Push the door open, and leave the food outside also. Thanks. What do you call it? Without people, then nobody could do anything. That's just a reality. That's a reality. No, don't put it on yet. If we open the windows, it's better. Just open the windows, get some cross ventilation. That'd be good. Thank you. No, I'm not so cold anymore. What do you call it? So the first mitzvah is to have people. Now, why do we need people? Why do we need a lot of people? Why not everybody just have one? Why not just everybody have one? What is the idea of you say, Dylan, you said to populate the world. Why do we need the world populated? What do we need people for? The answer is every single person, since no two people are exactly alike, and even twins are not exactly alike, even identical twins. One is older, one's younger, one's different. They have different. I have twin granddaughters, and I still can't tell them. They're 4 years old. I still can't tell them apart. Right, but they are different. Except when I'm giving out candy, then everything seems to be the same. Then they're exactly the same. But everything else they are different persons. No two people are exactly the same. Every person is serving God with different circumstances. Either a challenge here, a talent and an ability here, life circumstances here. Whatever your conditions are, you represent a separate entity of Kiddush Hashem. Each person who serves God is making a Kiddush Hashem. You are serving God and you are sanctifying God's name. And the job that you're doing, no one else could do because they're not you. They're just not you. Everybody has a different ability. Everybody has different life circumstances. Some people come from Cleveland, right? And so that's a challenge, So everybody has a different life circumstances. Whatever your life circumstances are, Cleveland is like the Rehovot of Israel, of America. So what do you call it? So we always compare Cleveland to Rehovot, by the way. So it's just kind of there, right? It's just there. Nothing significant about it. It's just there. And so each person, whatever his life circumstances, and therefore the first mitzvah in the Torah is pru'urvu. Okay. Now let's go to. You'll notice on the bottom of the page, just one point I want to make over here. Vayar Elokim es kol asher asa v'hinei tov me'od. Up until this point, it says tov. Every day was tov. Hashem thought it was tov. Now Hashem sees everything that He did, and it's tov me'od vayir vayvoker yom hashishi. Why is it tov me'od? What's the expression in English? The sum is greater than the something of the parts. How does the expression go? The
sum is greater than each of its individual parts.
Right, the sum is greater, something like that. The sum is greater. That means that every part of an airplane is great. The engine is great, and then the seats are great, especially in business, and the what do you call it? And the pilot is great. Everything is great, but you can't ride on a plane engine.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
The whole is that's it. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, which means that every part of the airplane is wonderful, but when you put it together, then it's a completely different creation. It's a completely different essence, because now you can get into a plane and you can fly. So the sum is greater than the
whole of its parts.
The whole of its parts. Sounds good. Whatever it is, you know what we mean. Yeah. So everything is like that in life, and therefore the entire creation works together. That's why you have this, what they call an ecosystem, where you have bees, and the bees go to the flower, they pollinate the this and the that. Everything is working. And do you know that there's a shortage of bees in the world or something, which creates there was a bee shortage, which creates major problems for farmers, and it has an entire what do you call it? It has an effect on all the crops and everything else. There's what's it called? A ripple effect and tremendous a chain reaction, tremendous amount just because of bees. Just because the bees are missing. And of course, we're created a world where everything interacts, and therefore tov ma'od means that you have this, you have that, you have the other, but all together it's a tov ma'od. Okay, now let's go to we obviously can't learn Bereishis without talking about the serpent a little bit. Okay, so he creates the woman on page 14, takes a rib, Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
I just wanted, as we mentioned last time, that Adam has also the same letters than Me'od. Is there some...
Tov Me'od is, I didn't see a connection over here. I didn't see a connection over here to Tov Me'od because he's created on the sixth day. That it could, maybe it's, I didn't see anybody say that, could be. But in what do you call it, it says that the Rav Hutner says that Ma'od, Adam is Ma'od. Rav Hutner is talking about the potential, yeah. Okay. Now on page 14, so he creates the woman, and he takes her from the tzela. Now we normally understand that tzela is a rib. He takes her from Adam's rib, and he puts her to sleep. Vayapel Hashem Elokim tardema al ha'adam vayishon. V'yikach achas mitzalosa vayisgor basar tachtena. So there's a story in the Gemara that a Roman said to one of the Chachamim, he said that your God is a thief. Your God is a thief. Because he put man to sleep and stole a rib and gave a bait a wife. So his daughter got involved. His daughter got, she said, let me answer. Right? I guess she took offense. Even when her father started saying something about women, even the daughter, the Roman's daughter, the princess, got involved. She said, Dad, by the way, we had thieves came tonight. They stole our silver equipment and they replaced it with gold. So the king said, wow, I hope they come every night. You know, steal the silver and put bad gold. She said, so listen to what you're saying. Here he put him to sleep, took a rib, and he gave him a maidservant to serve him. That's what she referred to women as, a maidservant to serve him. That your wife serves, she serves the husband, does everything for the husband, bakes for him, cooks for him, cleans for him, does everything for him. She said, why did he put her to sleep? He said, so why do you have to put him to sleep? Why did he take it away? So she said, okay, I'm going to make you some supper. So she took some meat. And she starts preparing the meat in front of her father. Ugh. You know, I don't want to look at it. If you look at it when it's being prepared, you're not going to eat it. Right? Take it into the back room, and out comes a nice sizzling steak. You know, but when you see it being cut and chopped and everything else, he said if he'd see, he'd be turned off from her if he'd see that she was taken from, you know, how he made her. So he put her to sleep, and next thing you know, ta-da! There's the bride. Right? That was the gift. That's why he put her to sleep. Okay, we'll see. So there is an opinion. Most opinions that Tzalosa is ribs. There is an opinion that came from that Tzalosa is from the thigh. We'll assume that it's the rib. Okay. Now, the Torah then says, Al kain yazov ish es avi ve'es imo v'davak v'ishto. A man has to leave his father and his mother, and he has to cleave to his wife, v'hayu lebasar echad. And they become one flesh, meaning when they have a child, the child then becomes, he is the unity, the result of the union between the husband and wife. That's where they become one. They become one in the child. But you notice the Torah is telling you over here part of the success of marriage. Maybe we could turn on the air. There's a little airless in here. If we could turn on the air, thanks. The Torah tells you over here, Al kain yazov ishas avi ve'es imo. A man must leave his father and his mother. V'davak v'ishto, and he must cleave to his wife. Now what this means over here is, first of all, the Torah is telling you that when it's time to get married, so a man gets married and you leave your parents. Now just as a strategy, it's always a good idea, certainly the first year of marriage, that a couple should be distant from the parents. It's a very good idea to be distant from the parents, especially for a girl to be distant from her mother. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's not absolutely mandatory. It's not halachically mandatory, but it is certainly a good idea because a couple has to learn to stand on their own 2 feet. When the daughter is too close to the mother, so then, you know, she's spending more time talking to her mother than she is to her husband. She's not really doing what she's supposed to be doing at home. That causes a lot of trouble, especially when the mother gets involved without any of her, without being asked to be involved. There's a famous saying that when the way parents should deal with the married kids is close your mouth and open your wallet. Did you ever hear that expression? It's close your mouth and open your wallet. That's the rule. And in general, don't offer any unsolicited advice. If you've developed the proper relationship with your kids already, then hopefully the kids will come to you for your advice because they respect you enough. But don't go giving your opinion. Nobody's interested. Number one, it causes trouble. And number two, it's teaching you that what if you get caught in a loyalty? What if there's a loyalty conflict? What happens to a husband if there's a conflict between his wife and his mother? Then whose side does the husband have to take? This is very difficult. Husband must take his wife's side. Hopefully he'll manage to get out of it. Hopefully he'll manage to figure out some way diplomatically not to take sides at all, like going off to Albania. right? That's the best way to get to catch a plane to Albania and then just stay there for a while. But if you can't, then the husband's first loyalty goes to his wife. And a wise husband, a wise parents, especially parents, should realize don't put the younger couple into that situation. But the Torah is telling you, your loyalty is to your wife. And your first priority in life is your wife. And sometimes you get these conflicts where parents say, we want you to come to us for Shabbos. The wife says, I really don't want to go to your parents' house for Shabbos. Now, you try to work it out and figure out why she doesn't want to go. And it's obviously you have to try to figure out. But if it push comes to shove, your first loyalty is to your, there's a mitzvah to honor your parents and everything else, but your first loyalty goes to your wife. That's what the Torah is teaching. Okay, now let's go to the serpent. And this is obviously, probably the episode in Parshas Bereishis that everybody focuses on. We're going to have to take it pasuk by pasuk here because the lessons here, it's so packed with life. We'll see what's happening here. It says, "Vayushneim arumim ha'adam ve'ishto." They were without clothing. V'lo yisbo shashu. There was no sense of shame because there's no yetzer hara yet, as we understand it. V'hanochash haya'aru mikol chayas hasoda asher osa Hashem Elokim. The snake was the most cunning of all creatures.
Rabbi,
Yes.
why is arum the same word for cunning and naked? Arum.
Why is it the same word? Why is arum the same word? I don't know. Why is it the same word? Huh? No. There's got to be a connection. There's no question about it. The people were not clear. I don't know. I'll have to check into that. Now, there are different opinions. What does it mean it was cunning? And we're going to get to a very big problem over here. We're going to get to catch 22, which does not have an easy solution. Vayomer Elisha, af ki amar Hashem amar Elokim lo sochlu mikol eitz hagan. Now Rashi, look how Rashi translates the words af. Af ki amar. He said to her, left column, sixth line, Shema amar lachem. Perhaps Hashem said lo sochlu mikol eitz. Did indeed Hashem say not to eat any of the fruit of any of the trees? What's her response going to be? No, we could eat. So why did he start that way? Well, he had to start the conversation somehow. He had to engage her in conversation. So he started out with something which is completely inaccurate. The snake comes to her and he says, is it true that Hashem said not to eat from any of the fruits? No, it's not true at all. Got her. Now she's talking. That's the first step. First step is you start talking. There's contact. Now you'll notice we have a big problem here. Before anything, what's the first question that comes to mind to any 5-year-old, which adults are afraid to ask?
How can the snake speak?
Yes. Snakes don't talk. Right? That every 5-year-old would ask it. Every adult would like to ask it, but they're too embarrassed to ask it because they think it must be an obvious answer, but it's not. And not only it's not an obvious answer, we got a very big problem over here. Speech, listen carefully what I'm telling you now. Speech is a sign of intelligence. Not always, obviously. Sometimes it's a sign of total lack of intelligence, right? We were speaking about in-laws getting involved in a couple's marriage. That's a lack of intelligence. But speech comes from intelligent people. It is a sign that one possesses potential for intelligence. That's what speech is. Now, we're going to see later that the snake gets cursed. So the question becomes like this. Is the snake an intelligent, thinking creature with a brain and an IQ, or not? Now there are what's the problem? So this is where you get the classic thumbs. If you say it is, this gets a big one. If you say it is, so then why don't we see that when the snake gets cursed, if it loses its life, crawls on the earth, and it's going to eat dirt, whatever, we'll see what that means. But how come it doesn't say anything about losing intelligence? Doesn't say a word about losing intelligence. So what's the alternative? The alternative is it wasn't intelligent. The words came out of the snake's mouth. We ever see that in the Torah before? Later? Where do we see words come out of a creature? Bilam's donkey. But what does it say over there? Vayiftach Hashem es pios, and Hashem opened the mouth of the donkey. If the snake does not have intelligence, so what should the Torah say over here? Vayiftach Hashem es pianochosh. So what's going on? Is the snake speak or the snake doesn't speak? If he does, if he has intelligence or he doesn't have intelligence, this is a very big problem. Okay, there are Mefarshim that say, well, then he did have intelligence. Why didn't the Torah say that he lost his intelligence? That's what it means when it says you're going to crawl on your belly, that you'll eat. That's what it means. Okay, but it doesn't say that, and that would theoretically be the biggest curse of all, is to lose intelligence. Some people would love to. Right, but for a snake, it would be the biggest curse of all. So the Torah doesn't say it. Now, I saw two different approaches here. Listen carefully, because there's the literal meaning. We can't leave the literal meaning. Literal meaning is a snake spoke. What's the you got a kasha? Okay, it's a problem. How to resolve the kasha? The literal understanding seems to be that the snake spoke, and it was an intelligent creature that spoke the kava. Now, there is an opinion that the snake was cunning. Cunning means that the snake had actually eaten from the fruit of the tree. The snake had eaten from the Eitz Hadas, because the snake wasn't told not to. And that created a certain cunning nature in the snake. But even more than that, there's an interesting take on this from the Abarbanel. The Abarbanel, who was a great commentator, led the Jews out of Spain in the time of the Spanish Inquisition. See, Abarbanel says, look up for a second, gentlemen. You see these where the air conditioning comes through? See there's this grid where the air conditioning comes through? Okay, Miguel, what does that say to you? What does that tell you?
What, the grid?
Yeah, what does that tell you?
Square.
What does that tell you?
The air is diffused.
What does it tell you?
Nothing.
Why? Because it doesn't talk. Grids don't talk. So what do you mean? But in English we use that expression, don't we? Well, this tells me, the window being open tells me, right? The fact that the air conditioner, that tells me, right? Something, we use that expression. The Abarbanel says that the snake never spoke physically. The snake was crawling on the tree eating the fruit. And the woman looked at the snake and said, that snake is telling me I could eat the fruit. That the snake had no intelligence whatsoever, wasn't intentional. That's the Abarbanel's approach. Okay, that's not certainly, the literal approach again is that the snake spoke. Hold for 1 second. Now, the snake represents, obviously, the Yetzer Hara. And the comparison to the Yetzer Hara, to the evil inclination, is remarkable. Snakes and the evil inclination is a remarkable comparison. Number one, they sneak up on you when you're least expecting it. Where do they nail? Snake normally nails people right in the back of the heel. Right in the back, gets them low in the heel. Right, the least guarded part of the body, and I would even say the least part of the body that is soaped up when you shampoo, when you take a shower. Right? And you know as well as I do that the part that probably needs the most attention, which is your heel, and your foot probably gets the least attention in a shower, especially on a slick floor where you got to stand on one foot in order to do it. Right? The chances of injury are great, and therefore we just kind of ignore it. Hope the water that we're standing in does the job. Right? The snake gets a person where he's vulnerable. That's what the Yetzer Hara does. Right where we're vulnerable. I could be working on my midos, I'm working on not being selfish, and I'm working on my davening, and I'm working on my learning. Yet, when I walk into the house, I explode. I get a temper tantrum. I forgot to work on my anger. Right where I'm most vulnerable, that's where he gets me. Right? The snake is waiting for you, number one. Number two, he sneaks up on you. Number three, once in a while, he hisses. Right? Sometimes a snake, like a rattlesnake. So sometimes there's a warning, Yetzer Hara lurking, Yetzer Hara alert to the right. Right? So you get a little bit of a warning. Now, what are you supposed to do when a snake coils to strike?
Stop.
Right, we spoke about that. Don't move. Right? Did it ever happen to you? You're on the train, and there are people with clothing allergies to the right and to the left. Right? And anywhere you turn your head, you're finished. Right? Don't move. Don't move. You don't move a muscle. Don't move a muscle. Stop right where you are. Right? That's the snake. And sometimes the snake is camouflaged. I don't even see that there's trouble. Now, you don't even see a snake. Now, you ever go to the reptile house in the zoo and you're looking in the cage, where's the snake? And all you see is a little tree till one of the branches starts moving. Right? The snake is absolutely camouflaged. So sometimes, you walk in, hey, I'm going to the chasna. Right? And you walk into the chasna. Kaboom. Right? It was camouflaged. I didn't expect any trouble here. Sometimes people think that's going to happen in a bar, but that's not. That's not such camouflage, right? So it could be anywhere. So the snake represents, and sometimes what's a boa constrictor? What's a boa? You know what a boa constrictor is? When it squeeze you. Sometimes you feel that you're just wrapped up in such a Yetzer Hara, you got no chance at all. He's just squeezing you. He's squeezing you. He's got you. You're in the grips of the Yetzer Hara. That's what the snake is. The snake represents in many different ways the evil inclination. By the way, there was a Rav Chatzkel Levenstein. So that's how it was the Mashiach of the Panovich Yeshiva. So he was once in a cab. So this cab driver said to him, Harav, I got to tell you a story. Problem is, when a cab driver in Israel tells you a story, that means he's driving like this. And you say Tehillim, you know. That's when so he says to him, Harav, I got to tell you a story. He says, yeah, we were once, after we finished the army, and we were traveling the world. We were in the jungles of Africa, or South America, wherever it was. And also one night, we hear one of the guys starts yelling and screaming. And we start yelling and screaming. So we run out of the tent. We see that this guy, he's wrapped up by a boa constrictor around him. So we thought, you know, we had one of the guys had his army Uzi with him, so he was going to machine gun off the snake, but then he thought that might not be such a great idea. And this guy's turning blue, and the guy says to him, Boaz, you're about to die, at least say Shema Yisrael. So the guy, he's wrapped like, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. He says, Harav. He said Hashem Echad, and as soon as he said Hashem Echad, the snake let go. The snake released him and slithered off into the jungle. And I want to tell you something. Today, because of that, he became a Baal Tshuva. He's from, he wears a yarmulke, his wife wears a yarmulke, his kids wear a yarmulke, the house wears a yarmulke, everybody's wearing a yarmulke. He keeps Shabbos, his wife keeps Shabbos, the kids, everybody. So Rav Chatzkel, he goes, wow. What about you? So he looks at me, no, it didn't happen to me, it happened to him. It didn't happen to me. It got to happen to you. It's not enough to see it happen to somebody else. Yeah, that's it. That's the answer. Sometimes you're completely helpless. You're completely helpless. That's the comparison. Okay. Rav Hirsch has a completely different approach here. And I think Rav Hirsch is the approach that whatever the case is, again, it's a symbolic idea, but this is the one that we have to take the life lesson from. Rav Hirsch says, an animal, in the animal kingdom, animals live on an instinct. If a lion is chasing after a deer, a lion, if he's hungry, if it looks good, smells good, and tastes good, an animal will indulge, right? A lion will chase down a zebra, right? Now, raw zebra, between me and you, raw zebra does not appeal to me, right? Somehow lions enjoy it, right? For me, a lion eating a zebra to me is like a human being eating sushi, right? It has zero appeal whatsoever, right? And both are raw, right? So a lion chases down a zebra. Yeah, I don't like sushi. Yeah, Ellen, I don't like sushi, and I don't think much of people who do. Okay, so a lion is chasing down a zebra. Yeah, I mean, you guys really, that's pretty pathetic. I got news for you. You know, you got a choice of sushi or roast beef, and a guy reaches for the sushi. He's not a friend of mine. I got news for you. So. Vegans, don't get me started. So a lion, give me the zebra. So a lion chases that. Now, pay attention carefully. If a lion indulges in something, an animal indulges, it means it looks good, smells good, and tastes good. And the animal's going to eat it, and the animal's hungry. Number one. Number two, there has never been a lion in history chasing a zebra and thinking to himself, you know, I really shouldn't be doing this because I'm behaving like an animal. No lion has ever exercised free choice or midos in not eating a zebra. And no lion certainly has said, well, I'm not going to eat the zebra because then I'll be fleishik for 6 hours. Right? That doesn't happen. If an animal indulges, it's because it looks good, smells good, and tastes good. Now, all of a sudden, there's a command. You got human beings. You can eat anything you want in Gan Eden. All the trees are free. Go indulge in whatever you want, except not that tree over there. Now it looks good, and it smells good, and it tastes good. Now what? So now you have a moral battle inside of this woman. What am I? Am I a two-legged animal? And if something looks good, smells good, and tastes good, I obviously should indulge. And any restrictions is pure nonsense, because there's no such thing as restriction in life for restriction's sake, what we call God. Or am I a human being with moral compass, and I live by rules? The nachash represents the animal in man. The nachash is speaking to her. It means that she's talking to herself. The animal in her is saying, indulge. The animal in her is saying, indulge. All you are is another form of animal, so you should indulge. And the battle of the human being, our battle, our daily battle, our hourly battle is, am I a human being or am I an animal? And just because I want to indulge doesn't mean that I should indulge. I was once at the bus stop here. I was on the way home. Years ago, one of the Rebbes in Yeshiva, is no longer a Rebbe here, but he was waiting at the bus stop. I had a candy in my mouth. So as I got to the bus stop, I pulled out a candy and I offered it to him. So he stuck out his hand. Then he said, yeah, no, I don't want. I said, it's okay, it's kosher. He said, yeah, I don't doubt it. He says, but I don't want. I said, why not? He says, because just because I feel like having it doesn't mean I should have it. I don't have to have it. No mitzvah to have the candy. You could if you want. Yeah, just because I don't have to indulge every whim. That's the battle over here between the Nachash and Chava. Now, what happens? Take a look at Pasuk Beis. Vayomer el Isha avki amar Elokim lo sochel v'koyes gan. Vatomer Isha la Nachash. 8 lines from the bottom. Mi priya eitz hagan nochel. No, we could eat the fruit. Umi priya eitz asher besochel gan amar Elokim lo sochlu mimenu v'lo sigu bo pen temusun. God said, don't eat it and don't touch it. Now over here, the commentaries say, it says in Avos Rabbi Nosson, he never said don't touch it. God said, don't eat it. When Adam warned her, he said to her, don't eat it and don't touch it. He felt he should make a fence for her. And we learn from this, Kol HaMosif Gorea, who if you add on, you could actually detract. He said to her, don't eat it and don't touch it. So what did the Nachash do? He pushed her into it. And she touched it. Nothing happened. He said, nothing happened when you touch it. Nothing's going to happen when you eat it either. And as a result, he went, what about rabbinic fences that they've added on? Because that's when the rabbinic fences are added on, because they've seen that we've already gone to the bad. They've seen that the generation is like we see in Gittin, what we're learning in Gittin about the Takana of Rabbi Gamliel, that the rabbis felt that things are not working, so we have to make a fence. But over here was given one command. What did you have to add on to it? Just tell her don't eat from the fruit. And because he added on, according to some, she added on the command. Whatever the case would be, they shouldn't have added on that lo sigubo. Vayomer anocha shel isha lo mostabus. You're not going to die. Now watch this. Pasuk hey. Ki yodei Elokim ki biyom acholchem imenu v'nifkechu einechem. God knows that when you eat from the tree, your eyes will open up. V'yisem ke Elokim yodei Torah. You'll be like God. So the commentaries pointed out that's man. What is the temptation of man? I want to be God. What does that mean? I want to be in control. I don't want to be controlled. I want to be in control. I don't like being told what to do. That's the consequence of a creator. The consequence of having a creator is that we are told what to do, and we don't like being told what to do. And there are a lot of things that people do and simply do it because they were told not to do it. And I don't like being told what to do. So what does she do? She sees it looks good and is very desirous. Here comes all the trouble in history. The woman ate from the tree. And she gave it to her husband and he ate also. Adam, dinner time. Right? And she gave him. By the way, you'll notice, look in the pasuk, you'll notice that it says originally, Vatikach mi pirio vatochal. By her, last line on 14, it says, she took from the fruit and she ate. And by him, it says, she gave to her husband and he ate. It doesn't say he took and ate. She didn't say she held it out and he took it and he ate it. There's actually opinion that she forced it into his mouth. She forced it into his mouth. There's an opinion that she was actually hitting him till he ate it. Whoa. There's a measure that said she was hitting him. Okay? Whatever the case is, now take a look at this. This is a very strange Rashi. Vatitein gam leisha ima. Top Rashi on page 16, right column. She gave it to him. Why? Shelo tomos he, that she shouldn't die. V'yichyahu, and he'll live. V'yisa acher, so marry somebody else. Like if I'm going, you're going too. Right? So she took a bite and she said, if I'm going to go, you're going. Because she's worried that she would die and he'd marry somebody else. Where would he get another wife? Plenty of ribs. Plenty of ribs left. Yeah. Just take another rib. No problem. Okay. So the real shot here is there's a much deeper, she was kind of that kind of lady. Wow. If I'm going to die, if I can't sleep, nobody sleeps. Right? By the way, that's what happens. That's what happens when a wife gets pregnant. Right? People think it's rough on the wife. It's rough on the husband. Women, they can't sleep. They can't get comfortable. And I got news for you. When she can't sleep, you don't sleep. Right? It's a rule in life. And if she's got aches and pains, you're going to hear about it. They could fetch you 9 months straight. Of 9 months fetch. You think it's rough on the women? Well, imagine the poor husbands. So what do you call it? And by the way, since we're on the subject, just on the subject, before we get there, later on there's going to be a curse. What's her curse going to be?
Pain.
She's got pain of labor, childbirth, pregnancy, labor, childbirth, the whole thing. What's his curse going to be? Work. Parnasa. Do you know there's a medrash? Be careful when you say this, by the way. I wouldn't say this to a girl in the first meeting. There's a medrash that says that his curse was twice as harsh as hers. That the difficult women say, oh, men can't relate to the pain of childbirth.
Don't say that.
Right. Women say men can't relate to the pain of childbirth. Oh, yes, they could. Yes, they could. Because Parnasa, it says, is twice as hard as childbirth. You know why that is?
Never ends.
Correct. Childbirth, you give birth and finish. You gave birth. Okay, now just raise them. Right. Parnasa it never ends. It never ends. You just finish. You know when I realized this? One Pesach, the Pesach expenses. We once made a calculation. I've spoken to other guys about this. Pesach, the week of Pesach costs you 1 month's salary. So on Pesach, and we do it happily, you buy the matzah and watch your kids crumble it at the table. Matzah that I made a calculation one year that the matzah cost me 35 cents a bite. Right? Yeah, at 150 shekels a kilo, so it comes out to about 35 cents a bite. And there's my 4-year-old is doing experiments with the matzah, crumbling up. I say, hey kid, not the matzah. Take mommy's jewelry. Don't do that with the matzah. Right? At 35 cents a bite. So I remember it was Pesach, and they didn't pay for everything. The day after Pesach, my son, who was about 9-year-old, he comes over and he's showing me his gym shoes. Daddy, I need new gym shoes. I was like, whoa. I just paid for Pesach. There is nothing being spent. Not milk, cheese, eggs, water, nothing until Sukkot. Forget about it. We're off for 6 months now. Right, forget about it. And then you realize, no, forget about it. Right? It's still, you're back there. It never ends. It never ends. Somebody once said, women need to go through childbirth so they could relate to a husband who's got 101 fever lying in bed. Think about that. Women always complain when the men get sick, they just lie in bed. They lie in bed with, women get sick, they got to keep going. Yeah. So that's the parallel. They give birth and we have a 99 fever in any event. So now the question becomes like this. The real pshat here is, the pshat that she shouldn't die and he marries somebody else is she felt that if she dies and he has to die, so then neither of them will die. If she has to die and he doesn't have to die, so Hashem will make him another wife. But if she has to die because she eat the fruit and he has to die, so then neither of them will die. Maybe they get a punishment, but there's no reason. Hashem's not going to kill them and just recreate man from scratch. I'm just telling you what she was thinking. Rashi's quoting a medrash here. Rashi's quoting a medrash. That's the explanation of the medrash. Look, she's not worried. She just feels that they both are chayiv misa. If they both have to die, then neither will die. That's what the pasuk says. But there's a bigger question here. The bigger question is, and this is a life also, I didn't say life. She took a bite of the fruit. When she took a bite of the fruit, what was she sure was going to happen? Nothing. When she took a bite of the fruit, she was sure she was okay, otherwise she wouldn't have eaten it. If you would have told her, she took a bite of the fruit because she was convinced it's okay. Then immediately she said, but what if I die? So what changed? What changed? Okay, you could argue that what changed is that the fruit itself made her smart enough to realize that but again, there's an insight into human behavior. There's a story about a guy who's an anti-Semite, and he belongs to an anti-Semite's club. and they have an annual meeting. Now this guy has a Jew on his property who can tell the future. This guy has on his, this Russian feudal, whatever they call them. So he's got a Jew, Yankel, living on his property. This Yankel can predict the future. So he goes to the meeting and he starts boasting about this Jew that he owns. So Igor is the main anti-Semite. He says, Ivan, there's nobody can tell the future. So Igor says, no, Ivan says, no, I've got a Jew who can tell the future. And Igor can't stand the fact that somebody has something he doesn't have. So he says, next year's meeting, you bring the Jew with you. So they bring the Jew. He brings Yankel. He says, next year, he goes to the meeting. He says, Yankel, you're coming with me to the meeting. So Yankel goes with him. They go to the meeting. And as soon as he walks in, there's a big stage. And he walks in with Yankel, the Jew. And there all the anti-Semites are sitting there with their cones on their heads. And he walks in. And Igor says, hey, you, Jew, get up here. So Yankel walks up to the stage. He says, Jew, I'm going to ask you one question. I've told you can tell the future. I claim nobody can tell the future. And I'm asking you one question. What day are you going to die? Now, Igor has a plan. If the Jew says he's going to die any time in the future, he says, well, I'm going to die 3 years from now. He's going to say, wrong, take out a gun and shoot him on the spot. And if he says, well, I'm going to die today, he'll wait till Shkia, pull out a gun and shoot him. Wrong, and shoot him. So Yankel's standing there, he says, I asked you, Jew, what day are you going to die? And he's already fingering the gun. And Yankel looks at him and goes, what day am I going to die? What day am I going to die? I'm going to die on the same day you die. So he reaches for the gun and all of a sudden he freezes. It's like, think about this. Then everybody's yelling, come on, Yankel, come on, Igor, what happened, Igor? Bark, 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 chicken Igor, what happened, Igor? Right? He said, well, let's not be doing anything rash. What happened? What changed? You were so sure nobody could tell the future. What happened? What happened was you became personally involved. You have a vested interest. You have your own vested interest. That means when she was interested in it, so suddenly, no, nothing's going to happen. It'll be okay. There won't be a punishment. God is forgiving. God understands I have a Yetzer Hara. All the arguments that we use all the time. All the arguments, all rational thought points in one direction, and our desire pulls us in the other direction. No, it'll be okay. No, it should be fine. It'll be no problem. I had a guy here once in the yeshiva who told me he had to sit in a doctor's office for 15 minutes. He said it was one of the worst 15 minutes of his life. He had to be tested for AIDS.
Whoa.
Now, before he did what he did, he was absolutely sure it was going to be okay. And the next thing you know, he's got to go get tested for AIDS. He said it was a bad 15 minutes. Turned out he was okay. And it was normal stuff. It wasn't anything good. It was a heterosexual. But he had to be tested for AIDS. Now, at the time, he was absolutely sure it's going to be fine. No, but it won't be a problem. The next thing you know, you're sitting in the doctor's office. What changed? What changed is that at the point that a person is gripped by desire, so he's blinded, he's got biases. So when she took a bite of the tree, when she took a bite, she was fine. Till after she said, oh, but what if, in the unlikely event of a water landing, like they say on airplanes, right? In the unlikely event of death, Adam, I have something I'd like you to taste. What is it? Passion fruit. Here you go. Right? And so she takes him, she gives him the fruit also. That's it. Okay, we'll finish it up tomorrow and then we'll go to Parshas Noach.